Who Watches the Rewatchers, a Buffy rewatch podcast.
Welcome to Who Watches the Rewatchers, our Buffy the Vampire Slayer rewatched podcast. My name's Jarrod. I'm with Alan. Today we're discussing Becoming Part 2, which is the ultimate episode of Season 2, the finale. And it's the second part. Alan, I started noticing through Season 2, I've watched back a few episodes that we've already covered with my kids, and I've watched this one a couple times, and I started noticing some areas where it's clear that Season 2 of Buffy has gotten a little bit bigger budget than Season 1.
Sure. Tell me about that.
Some of it's musically. Of course, the visual effects are there, but musically, this episode ends with a very melodramatic piece by Sarah McLachlan, who was big at the time and she'll get even much bigger, and Lilith Fair will become a big deal. And I'll be honest, I'm a big Sarah McLachlan fan. I thought she was great.
Sure.
But they don't just use a small bit of the song. I mean, they really use it is the ending. It's a song on grace, and they end that whole episode with it and wrap up everything. And I noticed a few other times the music seems to improve, and a few times in the season they name bands that will be at the Bronze that, if you look up, were actual bands. And so I think they're starting to get into some of that popularity a bit. And I was also reading a story since now where you got the great story that there's a reboot coming where Sarah Michelle Gellar found out that Buffy was a big deal. She had no idea. They filmed it, and then she went off to go film I Know What You Did Last Summer, which to me, the way it takes to film something and edit it and put it out, in my mind, when I Know What You Did Last Summer came out, she was already a big deal. But she had to start filming it before she was a big deal. And she said when she landed in like North Carolina to film that movie or whatever, that because she didn't have the WB it was like kind of like post, like in the midst of all that it became a huge deal, and she's walking around and people are like starting to notice her.
Right.
So it's starting to really gain momentum here in season.
Yeah. This is definitely when I started hearing more about it. Like, I had really loved the commercials for the original Buffy movie, and actually grabbed a bunch of high school buddies and went to go see it when that movie came out. And it was fun and funny and campy, and we sort of all just thought that it was a fun little thing, And then I heard they were going to make a TV show out of it, and I was like, I don't see that as a TV show, and just blew it off,
Right. Yeah.
And so when I heard people were making a big deal of it, I was like, oh man, people have terrible taste.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm still associating it with the movie,
Right.
And I knew she was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer because I'd been hearing things about it when I Know What You Did Last Summer came out. But I still hadn't. In the timeline, I still had not given Buffy a chance.
Yeah. Well, we know that you got to it later. That's okay. Yeah. I was with it at the beginning.
That's right.
And here we go. We start episode 2, leaving off from.
Oh, wait. I have one thing I wanted to say very quickly. I'm so sorry. Backing up in the conversation just a little bit. You mentioned your love of Sarah McLachlan. I want to tell you my one bit of Sarah McLachlan trivia that's very near and dear to me. So I'm a folk musician myself, and like one of my big heroes, I've got 4 big heroes, but one of them is a guy named Seamus Egan, and Seamus Egan is the leader of a reasonably well-known Irish band called Solus. It's spelled like solace, but it is a Gaelic word that means the sun. And Seamus Egan is a mandolin player and a banjo player and a flute player, and he wrote this amazing piece on the banjo called "Weep Not for the Memories." It's an instrumental piece, and Sarah McLachlan loved it, and decided to write lyrics for it, and it became a song you might know called "I Will Remember You."
Oh, yes.
So there
Really?
you go. There's my
No,
little bit of Sarah McLachlan.
that was my high school, era, like, anytime I wanted to feel the feels of sadness and longing, I could
Sure.
hear that song, it took me right there.
Yeah, man.
It's the song of the end of camp, whatever.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I was just trying to take us back to the last episode, the penultimate in the season, to kinda catch us up. This is where we realize that
Mhm.
there's a big plot by the vampires led by Angelus. He's trying to open the demon Acathla, and there was a trap. It was a ruse to get Buffy away from the Scooby Gang because,
Mhm.
he's going to need Giles. He
Right.
doesn't know, how to open or summon the demon. He's confused by it, so he thinks Giles um, is gonna break the code for him. So what he does, he sends Drusilla and a vampire gang into the library. All
Mhm.
sorts of battling ensues. Kendra, the second Slayer's there, and she is actually bested by a mesmerizing Drusilla, and she dies.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, Very dramatically, Buffy comes upon the scene to see the carnage, and the police arrest her, because they see her over the body of the dead Kendra.
Right.
Xander's arm is broken. He has fought valiantly. Willow's been knocked unconscious from some collapsing bookcase. Cordelia runs away, and Jenny Calendar, of course, has been deceased earlier in the season, and Giles has been kidnapped. So that's
Right.
where we begin. Fair
Right.
enough.
Yes, and then we begin with the process of the police trying to arrest Buffy,
Right.
and
Yeah.
basically they spot the dead girl. One of them points out that Xander is unconscious the next floor up, and that's the first time Buffy actually notices that Xander's there because she's been so focused on Kendra. And
Mhm.
uh, the police begin to the process of putting Buffy in handcuffs to try to figure out what's going on, and she tries to tell them that she's innocent, that she just got there, and that's when Principal Snyder walks in
Oh,
and
yeah.
says
Yes.
something to the effect of, if there's trouble here, she's behind it, and she calls him a troll, and it is a fantastic little bit of exchange between the two of them. But
Yes,
uh, but
indeed.
Buffy ultimately flips this police officer over and makes a run for it. And in the process of her making a run for it, one of the other police officers tries to shoot her, which I didn't think they were allowed to do that.
No, they're not. This is straight from, filmmaking from It's a Wonderful Life era where, like, do you remember in It's a Wonderful Life when
Of course.
George, the part where George is, he's no longer been born, and so now he's in Pottersville, and everything's sort of slummy, and, he runs into Bert the cop, and ultimately
Yep.
he's trying to talk to his wife who turned out to be an old maid down at
Hmm.
the library. That's what Clarence says. And there's a great scene, and Bert's for whatever reason trying to calm him down, and he ends up punching Bert and they're running away, and then he pulls out the gun, and in the midst of people just starts firing. And I remember my whole life watching that, my dad would always go, he wouldn't shoot. And so what really delighted me watching this with my kids is my second daughter goes, she wouldn't shout,"
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah, right.
called it out. Yeah, so it's a very irresponsible shot, but it's dramatic, and it has
Yeah,
a little glass
it
breaking.
sells the thing. Sure, I like it.
Yeah, and it doesn't add to her innocence, but she
Mm,
runs away, which is, makes sense.
yeah.
Meanwhile, Angel is torturing Giles, and that also is always funny whenever they do torturing in these early seasons, as they did a few times. And, Angel was tortured by Drusilla. I'm always like, how bad was it? I mean, there's no evidence, physical evidence on them. And I realize this is television and this is for, a certain level of television. But it's like, it looks like they're drained to the nth degree or to the smallest degree of life left, but there's like no markings, no blood,
Mhm.
nothing. Uh, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
but
That
it's
stuff
fun.
cracks me up.
Yeah.
On that note, I'll tell you this. Um, for a couple years there, I was running around the country shooting these long form instructional videos of famous comic book artists drawing whatever it was they were drawing and interviewing them while they were drawing a piece. And one of the ones that I did, I don't remember when this was, maybe 2, 3 years ago, was with an artist by the name of Sean Murphy, who was drawing a cover for Batman Begins. Not Begins. I'm sorry, Batman Beyond.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Batman Beyond? It's like a future
Oh,
version of Batman.
yeah, a little bit.
Okay, I'm only bringing this up because in the background of the cover, he had a character who's well known for using guns, a character called Red Hood, Jason Todd. And and he was like, okay, I'm putting him this far in the background and trying to hide the fact that he's got the guns because there's a new rule at DC Comics. I'm not allowed to draw guns on covers. And I was like, what do you mean? They've got this character, his whole shtick is using these guns.
Right.
And and Sean basically said, well, it's a dumb rule, but there are new guys in charge at DC, and this is the thing. And by the way, DC is owned by Warner Brothers, who were same people putting out Buffy. So I'm sure they had rules about how much blood could be in the episode and what could be shown and all those kinds of things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let me ask this question because what you get out of the Angel and Giles torture is I don't know. To me, it's not worth mentioning terribly. Giles is just remaining stoic and strong. He's not going to give up the secrets, and but it's just a torture kind of scene.
Sure.
Meanwhile, as Buffy's escaped the police, she goes to Giles' apartment.
Hmm.
And who does she find there? The narrator of these 2 episodes, Whistler. And we see Whistler is it in the backstory of the first part. And
Hmm.
Whistler is the guy who calls Angel to his adventure.
Yep.
He's the reason Angel is put on quest, if you will.
Right. Right.
And he's a
Mentor.
demon. Yeah, and we call him he's some sort of good demon or whatever.
Hmm.
He's a benign demon, and he's setting Angel along this path to meet Buffy, to care for Buffy, and it gives him a purpose. Um, and while there's and so that's so that's all mysterious. I would say it's fun. I would say the way it's been done thus far, it's sort of neo-noir, right? It's kind of got
Yeah.
that, and he's even got a
Yeah.
little bit of that the New Yorker kind of working class accent, and he, kind of like you can imagine going back to those noir movies and seeing this as a
Hmm.
character, right? Uh,
Hmm.
there's all discussion about Angel going from Angel back to Angelus. And then the big reveal here is that Whistler says that Angel was destined to stop Acathla, not wake him up.
Right.
And and in the first part, Angel, it's his own blood that's going to awaken him. So he cuts his hand or whatever, and he puts it on, but it does. He can't pull out the sword out of Acathla's chest.
Right.
And so what we're starting to get the sense of is that Angel is there's something wrong. That's why he's got Giles. He wants to know what he's doing wrong. But here in this little bit, we're getting that there's this bit of destiny, right? This
Mhm.
this like fate is bound up within the character of Angel, which
Yes.
then makes me ask the question,
Mm.
who is Whistler? Why does Whistler know this? And besides creating a drama for a spinoff for Angel,
Yeah.
what else is going on here? Like metaphysically, that this is a
Oh,
destined thing.
that's a good question. I don't know that I know. Other than I think the hint is this. Buffy says, "What are you? Some sort of immortal demon? Sit down to settle the score between good and evil, or something to that effect." I don't remember the exact terminology, but she says something like that. And he sort of scoffs and he goes, "Huh, good guess." And and you know, Angel's show is all about this idea that there's um, there are the powers that be that have set him on this path of trying to settle the score between good and evil. So apparently, Angel is going to be like sort of the next minion for these powers that be, which we haven't been introduced to yet. Um, and so I think that that's as much of an idea as the writers had, and I don't know metaphysically that they had anything other than that going on. Do you think
No,
so?
I don't. I do think that when they build it over time, and I think we really started off with this rewatch, basically knowing that your interest in visual storytelling would give you a
Mhm.
particular angle to speak, besides being a fan, and then besides being a
Sure.
fan, my interest in theology and philosophy and
Yes. Yes.
mythology would give me a particular angle to speak on it, and I keep saying like, well, like the big mythology starts to develop, and I think it comes later, and and it's probably just being built on over time.
Mhm.
So I don't think that they set out with a whole lot of ideas. I think good and evil is about as far as it might go at first, but it becomes fascinating because you start thinking about what is ultimate good versus what is ultimate evil.
Sure.
There is a great and interesting question about like even the Slayer's like the true nature of the Slayer. Is it born out of goodness or evil, or are they different things?
Mhm.
Um, but I just find it interesting whenever you have fatalistic stories,
Sure.
it's hard. I think it's really hard in the West, in my opinion. It's really hard to identify with the stories. Um,
Talk to me about that. Why do you think it's harder to identify if it's a fatalistic story?
well, I was gonna actually correct myself because maybe it's on the one hand it's challenging to connect with, but on the other hand there's also something still alluring or familiar with it, and so um, the truth of the matter is this: whether or not
Mhm.
you like this narrative or not. So if you are an ardent atheist who has I would say like even like really negative feelings about religion like Christianity, you may not
Mhm.
like this, but I actually think that this is historically true, rather you have faith in it or anything like that.
Sure.
That but here we go. Here's my little thought.
Yeah, give it to me.
In the Greco-Roman world, you had a certain understanding of the universe and a certain understanding of how stories worked based on that universe. Which is
Okay.
why I like in Greek storytelling, you had the two very famous kinds of stories, tragedy and comedy. And
Sure.
comedy didn't necessarily mean like you were laughing at it, like it didn't mean it made you chuckle like Dumb and
Sure.
Dumber or
Sure,
Meet the
sure.
Parents, or it meant that it had a happy ending
Sure.
and or a positive ending for your
Right.
heroes. The
Sure.
tragedy, it wasn't, it wasn't necessarily about tears, but it could be.
Mhm.
Tragedy was about, things not working out for the hero, and
Right.
usually because of some sort of fated, reality.
Right.
The scales of the cosmos were out of balance, and they were put right, and being put right maybe meant that the hero died or whatnot.
Right.
So, there's so many Greek tragedies, and then they do get reproduced in the West post-Christianity for sure. However
Definitely.
however, the scandalous notion in the Greco-Roman world about, like, a person like Jesus is that, Jesus is in if he's in that world of Greek storytelling,
Mhm.
Jesus is a peasant, right?
Right.
Who speaks truth to power and rises above his station and thumbs his nose at authority, if you will.
Right.
And even if you as the audience are cheering for him because he's doing the things that you think are right, you know that he's gonna suffer for it. Fate,
Mhm.
the balancing of the scales and fate is going to make him suffer for it, and he's going to die. So when he dies, you think, "Man, that's a shame," but that's what you expect.
Right.
But when he overcomes the grave,
Mhm.
when the resurrection
Mhm,
happens,
mhm, mhm.
that actually tips the scales in a way that's a kind of it's a scandal to the mind.
Sure.
And that is whether or not you believe in that as a story, it is a story that is a story that becomes very, pervasive throughout the West, and it takes
Sure.
over the West. And so that binding up the universe in fate or stories in fate and tragedy like that is no longer the standard by way we tell
Mhm.
stories. I think sometimes when you start talking about fate, it's almost sort of when we feel like a sense of personal imbalance. Like, when things don't ever
Mm.
seem to go right, we talk about fate. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong in how it's received today, but once I start hearing that Angel is fated this way,
Mhm.
it doesn't seem to me to fall into that ancient sort of Greek paradigm where he's risen up and now he's gotta put back down. It's like someone somewhere has chosen him. So it seems actually like a more personalist deity, or deities, like like a Calvinist God. Like there's a predestination for him as a particular person and him alone,
Yeah.
right? To do
Yeah, yeah,
this.
yeah.
And then you're like, why? Like who's standing behind the universe pulling all these cosmic strings
Mhm, mhm.
just so that he might come close to awakening Acathla to then killing Acathla? Like it seems capricious by the deities or whoever's standing behind the if they have the power to move one's life like this, and they have the power to do anything. And so
Sure.
it's an interesting. I just yeah, to your point, I don't think they're thinking about it like
No,
that.
no, no. I actually I'm fascinated by what you're saying right now. Well, I'll try to summarize the different shades of thoughts that have run through my head here. Number one, when you're first talking about faded stories in the West, the obvious one that pops into my head is Oedipus as sort of a foundational fate-driven story. Um, and I actually think that Buffy has to play with that specific theme a lot because she is the chosen one, right? So in order for Angel to also be a chosen one, there has to be some other power out there that's doing it. I don't know that we ever get to the point where we understand who has chosen Buffy. Like we know that in future episodes we get this idea that Buffy's been chosen. We Buffy's been chosen to be the Slayer, and we get the idea that the Watchers, who've existed for, you know, millennia, however many thousands of years back, created the Slayer line by doing what they did to the first Slayer. And we'll talk about that in I guess season five. But but they never spell out like a systematic approach for how the Slayer is chosen after each Slayer dies. Like, how is the next one the chosen one? Like,
Right.
that's never made clear. And the difference with Angel that I think is actually interesting to your point is that we actually know, we actually see the powers that be at some point. I think in season two of Angel, he walks in on them at some point,
Mm.
and they get murdered, by the way, in Angel. Um, and so I think that there's a lot to wonder about there. Like I don't know that they ever go so far as to explain, you know, the powers that be, what they are, or who they are, or why they have the power, or what they're trying to accomplish. I don't think we ever get there,
Mm.
but we certainly at least know that that's what's going on.
That's fascinating. I didn't really watch a lot of Angel, so we've talked about that. But yeah. Okay. Well, listen, that was a sort of an arduous detour, perhaps for listeners.
No,
Let's.
no, no, no. I think I actually think the listeners probably have seen Buffy. Is the reason they're watching this or
Uh-huh.
listening to this,
Uh,
and so going on our diatribes is probably what they're listening to this for. So I thought that that was excellent.
well, thank you,
Okay, so
dear listener. So what's going on next in our episode?
okay, so what happens next that I think is important for us to mention is that Willow and Willow's in the hospital. She's unconscious, and they're waiting for her to wake up. The other thing that I think is important for us to mention is that Buffy, on her way home, um, gets stopped by the police,
Yes,
and
nearly arrested.
as she gets stopped by the police, she doesn't know how. She's clearly like about to like defend herself in some way, and then she ends up not having to because the police officer gets knocked out, and we're not able to see exactly who's doing it. But then the camera cuts to where we can see it, and we see
Like,
Spike, and he says, "Hello, cutie."
yes, there's a, we knew that he was lying about being in the wheelchair, and now he's out, and we're going to start hearing his plan. He doesn't wish, this is what we've said a couple times. He's like, look, why would we want to destroy the world? This is some sort of crazy thing for Angelus and
Right.
Drusilla. He's like this world is like a buffet, basically. Why would you want to do that?
Right.
And he is very jealous of Angelus and Drusilla and their interest or whatever it is. And
Uh-huh.
he's going to stop. He's going to help Buffy stop Angelus But the caveat is that Buffy's got to let him and Drusilla leave town, and they'll never come back. They'll
Right.
never, ever, ever come back, right?
Yeah, yeah, never
Uh,
ever, right.
and then, which is really great, they go to Buffy's house to talk, which
Mhm.
is I don't know why they're going to the house, but only probably to have what happen, which is Joyce pulls up,
Yeah.
and now Joyce is like confronting Buffy, and they're like, "Well, who's this guy?" "Well, we're in a band together," and that becomes a very cheeky moment, right?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
which is delightful. But very shortly thereafter, as Joyce is trying to bring the hammer down on mom here, because look, something really criminal has happened. In fact, murder has happened, and cops are looking for her. So she's being about as parental as we ever have seen her, and Buffy admits it finally. And it all happens because Spike's like, "Oh, what? Your mom doesn't know, and doesn't know what?"
Yeah.
And then so Buffy tells her, "I am a vampire slayer," which basically Joyce just, I mean, can't accept at first.
Yes.
Uh, then I think we cut away before the finality of the scene. Do we cut away?
What happens specifically is a vampire jumps out, one of Angel's boys jumps out to attack Buffy, and she dusts the vampire in front of her mom, and
Right.
that's sort of the moment where Joyce at least starts listening a little bit. Like I don't think she ever gets to the point where she in this episode she doesn't get to the point where she understands at all. But
No.
but
No,
but but
because
at
she
least
actually asked her, "Have you ever tried not being the vampire slayer?"
yeah, that's right. That's right. Um, but I think that whole thing is there to for the writers to explore this idea of again we're still dealing with teen drama and how can we over dramatize it. I think everybody's had the experience of they have an identity that is unlike the identity that the parents want them to have, and it's difficult for the parent to accept, and the parent tries to impose themselves on the kid who has an identity that the parent can accept, and I think that that's what they were trying to illuminate in that particular moment. And I think they did a good job with it. I mean, I certainly felt moments like that when I was in high school. How about you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, and then also I love it when Buffy's just trying to tell her how it really is. Like, "It doesn't end, mom." Like, this is,
Right.
and, 'cause 'cause yeah, I probably had those moments, and my kids had those moments where they're trying to tell us about how hard their life is, right? Or trying to
Sure.
communicate. But also in this case, it's very true. And
Right.
she's like, "No, this is serious. It doesn't end." And then there's this really dramatic bit where, she's gonna go. Buffy's gonna go do the work, and Joyce is like, "No, if you leave, don't come back." And Buffy
Mhm.
leaves, which is one
Mhm.
of those moments where you're like, every parent watching it can go, "Shouldn't have said it, but I totally understand it." Right? We've all said things like that, right? Or, we've
Yes.
all like, "Yeah, I don't really mean that, but I'm trying to control the situation."
Yes.
And when you feel out of control and you're trying to have some semblance of control, it's a dangerous combination.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Meanwhile, back at the hospital, right? And
Yes, back at the hospital. Willow is still in bed. Xander's trying to talk to her and comfort her and ask her to wake up, even though she's still unconscious. And we get a really sweet moment. Do you want to talk about that?
yeah, I mean, I think quite frankly, you could read it one of two ways, but Giles or Xander is just trying to talk to her and perhaps trying to make her wake up, but he's trying to say the last things. It's a mix of
Uh-huh.
what do you do in those moments? And he says he loves her, and you could take it as he's confessing, the love for her that she always wanted him to have, or that he just loves her.
Right.
Uh, I don't know if you think there's ambiguity there. I think it could be read both ways. What do you
I,
think?
I think there's definitely ambiguity there, and I think that they meant it that way because that's basically the moment when she wakes up, and she doesn't ask for Xander, she asks for Oz, and Oz has just entered the room,
Yeah, my
so he
second
didn't.
child was like, "Where's Oz?" Like, because he hasn't been around for anything, and I'm like, "1 of 2 things, son. One is we're trying to either the writers are trying to create this or they couldn't get the actor for these bits.
Yeah, right. So then we get an additional really sweet moment between Oz and Willow. I think my favorite line is she says something like, "Is her head feels like it's really big? Is her head really big?" And he says, "No, it's head size." I
That
thought
size,
that was
right.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, once she starts to come to more, she's determined to do the curse again to bring
mhm.
Angel back to the body of Angelus.
Right.
She sends Xander. She goes, "Now go tell Buffy of my plans," right? And that's a
Yes.
real sticky wicket there because Xander has been saying, "I don't think that he deserves to come back."
Yeah. Yeah.
Xander's never seen this. Xander is one who's not seen the hard line between Angel and Angelus. For him, Angel is still vampire. Vampires
Yes.
are bad. So for him, it's simple. This guy's got to go,
Yeah.
and he's very conflicted. Yeah.
And then before we get to Xander delivering that message to Buffy, we cut to Angel torturing Giles. We do see a little tiny bit of blood on
Teensy
Giles'
bitsy.
hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
And but that's basically it's basically what we got. And Angel is trying to torture Giles into telling him how to awaken Acathla. And that is okay. I have to admit, this is where I get just a little bit confused because um Spike's there, but Spike's with Buffy. How did Spike get back to the did logistically, did you catch that? Because I don't know that I did.
No, but she did when she left without him, and
Mm,
so I don't know if they went separate ways. Um,
I
it
guess
doesn't.
so. I guess so.
No, it
Well,
doesn't make it hard.
Before Spike leaves Buffy's house, I gotta bring up my favorite scene, possibly in this entire episode. And
Uh-huh.
what happens is when Buffy's on the phone with Xander at the hospital, before or maybe right after, I don't remember. Willow wakes up. Um, Joyce is hanging out in the front room with
Yeah.
Spike.
Yep.
And there's a shot that makes them look very uncomfortable sitting next to each other, and they're just quiet. And then they cut away and Buffy's talking for a minute, and they cut back to Spike and Joyce. And Joyce says, "Do I know you?" And he says, "Oh yeah. You hit me with an axe one time. Get your hands off my daughter." That's that it's that moment. And it is just as funny as it can possibly be. Because it's like it reminds me of all those uncomfortable conversations with between parents and potential boyfriends of their daughters that we've all seen or experienced in high school, just taken to the nth degree. And I just thought that it was hilarious.
Well, it's also great. It's also just great, typical Buffy cheekiness. That
Yeah, yeah,
you're right. That's the stuff that makes me just love the show. Um, and also another great burn at Spike a little bit from Angel is Angel says he calls him sit and spin.
yeah. Of course. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. There's a lot of great cheeky stuff being said. Um, Now, while that's happening, while there's the torturing of Giles, we have to also say that I think Angels was gonna kill Giles and just
yeah,
do away with them. But that's why Spike's importantly there because he steps in and goes, "Ah, no, you might
yeah,
you might have another reason for him or something." He's, "Oh, good point, Spike. Yeah, good boy." So Spike is keeping his end of the bargain. His game is being
yes,
played. And meanwhile,
yeah,
for Buffy, she's going to the library to get the Kendra's sword. And
right,
when she's there, that's when she has this interesting. Firstly, let's just call out the silliness of the whole thing. This is a crime scene where there's a murder. There's no way she's just walking up to it, or it's not locked down. But also, she's walking through it, and there's
yeah,
Principal Snyder who's walking through it, which is, funny. But that's Snyder's like very excited to say she's expelled.
Yes, yes, yes.
He's
These are
not
the
even
moments you savor. These are the
he's not
moments you
even
savor.
worried that he's standing in front of a possible murderer, right? Like it's just so
Yeah, yeah.
fun. Yeah, these are the moments you savor. Oh gosh, little man.
Well, and Buffy has this line back to him after he says you're expelled. She says, "You never got a single date in high school."
Did you?
And
Yeah,
he says, "What's your point?"
that's your point, right?
But no, yeah, and then we actually get the important moment that I think this scene is here for. And the important moment that this scene is here for is that after Buffy leaves, Snyder makes a phone call to the and he basically says, "Hey, tell the mayor I have good news."
Right.
So we're still trying to set up the big bad for next season in this moment,
That's
which
right.
which basically communicates to me that they knew they were going to get another season at this point. I know that in season one it was they had real doubts if they would get a season two. But now that they've done this well in season two, I think that the powers that be over the show know that they're going to get another season, so they're trying to set it up, despite the fact that they're going to have a lot of closure in the season. One of the things that's cool about Buffy, in my opinion, is that we get a lot of closure at the end of every single season, to where it could be the end of Buffy without really, leaving people to where they were upset about what happens. Now, the only season of any Buffy or Angel series that's not true for is actually the series finale of Angel. It ends on a giant cliffhanger.
Well, I'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
Now, the way Spike keeps Angelus from killing Giles is that, and this is the clever thing that I was dropping in my mind, is
Sure.
that he says Drusilla used hypnosis on him, this is like pretty cool because she does that whole mesmerizing thing.
Yeah.
She appears to Giles as Jenny Calendar, and
Yep.
she's doing a very good job of trying to get him to communicate and very loving. And
Mhm.
Giles says it's Angelus. He's the key, and he must use his own blood. And
Yep.
then Jenny Calendar starts kissing Giles, and they start kissing each other. And then the camera pans around, and you see it's Drusilla kissing him, and they're just going to town kissing each other. Cuts away to Angel and Spike talking, and he's like, "Of course, it's my blood," and
Mhm.
it's very comedic because they're like, "Hello, Drew," and she's like, "What?" And she turns around and she's totally into it, and she's
Mhm.
just lost herself, which is funny. And that's when Giles knows that he has been, duped and,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I saw a really short interview with Anthony Stewart Head the other day, and he was being asked what his favorite episode of Buffy was, and you know what he answered?
this one?
Passion.
Mm, mm.
He said the Passion was his favorite episode. He said that it was. He said it's beautifully shot. We said, well, they're all beautifully shot. But he felt that Giles really uh, became a much more interesting character in that episode.
Mm. Okay, I
So
see. I see that. Cool. Yeah. Now Buffy gets back to Whistler,
yes,
uh, the mentor of the episode,
yes,
he tells her that if Angelus has woken Acathla, only Angelus' blood can defeat him. So now we get the full deal. Like now it's
yeah,
kind of clear he's got to be killed.
right,
And apparently that's once the portals open that Acathla represents that will suck this world into hell. Almost like Angel's body and blood has to kind of heal that wound in the universe. Which I
right,
will say, later on in Buffy, there's a gap between this world and another dimension, and she gives it with her own body is the wound for that gashing wound, which is very Christological. Uh,
yes,
in American Western Christianity, there's one way of talking about the atonement of Jesus as being completely like a substitution, a legal sort of thing. It's called plenary substitution theory,
mhm,
where like we are all guilty, and so we owe, but we're all too blemished to pay, and so the spotless, sinless, the innocent victim can pay and stand in the gap.
Right.
And that is one like shade of the way of telling it, but there's other models, especially utilized in Eastern Orthodoxy and other places, right? They call it, there's there's something called the Christus Victor model, where Christ is victorious over evil, and there's another model that's a very healing oriented or health oriented model. So you could say something like that: the body and blood of Christ has been given over for the healing of the broken world, for the
I
healing
see.
of creation, for the healing of the human. Uh,
Mm.
his blood is the cure, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so it's very similar. So in this way, it's a sacrifice. It's a blood sacrifice. Whether or not they ever intended it, it's actually really hard to get away from images that have some resonance with Christological sacrifice language.
It is. But I think that has something to do with just vampire shows of this ilk, um, where you have vampires reacting to crosses. I suppose that they have to have some amount of Christian themes going on in order to make all that make sense. But I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, we talked about it in season 1,
Yeah.
but it's fascinating because it's fascinating to me because so you have the folkloric vampire, and then the real modern invention of the cinematic or literary vampire really is with Bram Stoker. I mean, there are other
Mhm.
vampires in literature before that,
Sure.
but when you
Absolutely.
really start making it a literary figure, it's with Dracula. Bram Stoker is famously an Anglican, but he writes, in my opinion, a Catholic vampire tale. So
Sure.
the host at communion is something that the vampire can stay away from. The cross, it has grace. They have to stay away from it. Churches, they're sanctified holy ground. They have to stay away from it. So things themselves, objects in the world, can be imbued with holiness or grace.
Mhm.
Um, but once you start getting to like vampire buff or interviews the vampire, um,
Yep.
once you start getting there, they make points about how crosses are quite beautiful. I like to look at them. Why would it have any power over Louis or Lestat? Because they don't believe in them, right?
Right.
That's
Right.
a more like high Protestant vision. Like these
Sure.
things don't matter. The communion doesn't matter. The cross doesn't matter unless you have belief in it. So it's
Sure.
the belief that makes it imbued with the power and authority. And so once we get to Buffy, we're thoroughly in a more postmodern sort of storytelling. So
Sure.
the cross has authority, but it's never stated why. The churches don't have any authority. Holy water does. It's a melange. It's this postmodern melange of symbols, but they quite clearly throw tons of shade against Christian religion in the show. It's like not even a
Sure.
real thing. So
Sure.
why we don't know, but it's the mixing of symbols and signs to tell another story.
Sure. 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 Well, okay. So this is the moment in the episode. Sorry, when Buffy is on her way to kill Angel, and Xander comes to help. And so they have this conversation that you alluded to earlier. Basically, Xander's here. He's been sent by Willow to tell Buffy that she's gonna try the spell one more time to give Angel his soul back. But instead of telling her that, and when the moment arrives, instead he says, "Willow told me to tell you." Yeah, what Willow tell you to tell me? Kick his ass, is what he says.
Yeah.
And this is the moment that I think that uh, created the fandom against Xander. Like online, whenever I see people talking about Buffy, um, they're the people who love Xander because he's funny and charming and whatever, and there are people who hate Xander because of this line.
Mm. Well, I think it's misplaced, but I think at the same time he becomes the beating heart of the Scoobies.
Yeah,
And I don't know that I can love him or hate him. I completely disagree with him. Uh,
sure.
but hey, got
Yep. Yep. Oh wait.
that's some, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
it's
and I
it's
like it
it's
because this is right. The way Buffy enters is cool.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Um, and as Buffy enters, she basically says, Angel's like, "You're playing the odds. The odds are stacked against you. There's no way you're going to defeat all of us by yourself." And she goes, "I know." and that's when and that's when Spike reveals that he's on her team.
Yep, yep, yep. She announced her arrival by, like, cutting off the head of one of the minions. It's pretty
Yep.
awesome. Like, surprises Angel from behind.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Knocks him unconscious, starts beating him up. Uh, Drusilla sides with Angel, defending him against Spike, which is, tough for him. Uh, Xander does his part to free Giles. Um, Spike and Buffy fight against Drusilla and the other vampires. It's
Yep.
all going, it's all the melee.
Yep.
Uh, so then Angel gets up, he comes to, right? And he removes the sword from Acathla. Finally, he can remove it.
Yep.
And so now the vortex or passageway from this dimension to another is beginning. And Buffy and him start fighting with swords, which is, there's no need for it, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Um, Drusilla gets knocked unconscious by Spike,
Yep.
and he takes her. It's kind of like a Tarzan Jane sort of like clubs her over the head to take her away.
Yeah.
They take off from Sunnydale, supposedly to never be seen from or heard from again.
Right.
Angel does get the best of Buffy,
Mhm.
but
There's one moment here I want to point out.
you
At
pointed
some
out.
point, at some point in the middle of it, um, Xander gets to Giles and he's like, "Hey, Giles, we got to get out of here." And Giles goes, "Oh, you're a hallucination. They're making me see what I want to see." And he goes, "If they're making you see what you want to see, why would you see me?"
Good point.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
then they get up and walk out, right? And
yeah.
that's the Giles moment I needed to point out. Okay, continue.
Well, Angel starts, tormenting her instead of just killing her, and then at the hospital, we have Willow. She's doing the incantation in the hospital bed,
Yep.
and she's speaking Romanian. It's all witchy, and I guess it works because you can see it in the flash of the eyes. Angel, he's knocked on his butt by Buffy or something, but then in his eyes flash, and he's no
Oh,
longer
wait. Before we get
okay.
there's a moment that I need to point out. And I'm specifically going to point this out because one of our listeners contacted me and said that we needed to talk about this moment.
Oh, okay.
Um, so what happens here is Angel's knocked Buffy down, and Buffy is um, looks defeated.
Hold on.
She's about to be defeated. And Angel says, I think thematically this is the moment where we get the theme of this episode. Um, and by the way, before we get to the theme of the episode, I need to
Mm.
mention that just before this happens, Spike is carrying Drusilla out, and he looks and sees that Angel's. He goes, oh God, Angel's going to kill her, and then he just sort of shrugs and walks away. It's a very,
Yeah.
very funny moment. Um, so 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 Angel's over Buffy. He's got the sword. He says, "This is where you're at. No friends, no hope. Take all that away. What's left?" And he goes to stab her, and she catches the sword, and she just
Nope.
says, "Me." And I think that that's really the point of this episode, that she is becoming who she's supposed to be. She's at peace with herself in certain ways. She won't be at peace with herself in a minute. But she understands who she is. She's clear on her identity. She has stood up for herself and her identity with her mother. She stood up for herself and her identity with her friends. She stood up for herself and her identity now with her ex-boyfriend. Um, and and she basically takes Angel down, even though he's the one with the sword and she doesn't have one. She's able to overcome him, and she's just about to kill him, and that's when his eyes flash.
Okay. What did the listener want specifically to talk about? Because
She specifically, the listener that contacted me specifically wanted me to talk about the moment when Buffy grabs the sword and says,
Mhm.
"Me."
Yeah, because I presume they love that moment.
That they love that moment. That's exactly right.
I think it's right. I've watched it twice with my girls. And my son too, but my son is 5, and so he's playing around in the background. So we watched it twice, and it gives you the tingles when she does that.
Yes.
Because in an attempt to reduce her, right, you can't break her all the way down because she has enough of yeah, she has enough in herself to stand up, right?
Right.
Yeah, it is she's gone toe to toe.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's asserting something of herself, which is profound. It's profound for
Yeah.
any human to do.
Yes. Yeah, totally agreed.
Yeah.
So, Angel's eyes flash, and she has her boyfriend back for what? 30 seconds, 60 seconds, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and I think that, while they are reconciling, and Angel doesn't remember anything right now, like, he's just gotten his soul back, his soul is in the body.
Yeah, he
He doesn't
doesn't it's interesting 'cause he doesn't he's got foggy at best, if anything, memories. So he doesn't
Yes.
it's like for him, he went to a deep sleep and he woke up. He's like, "What happened?" Yeah.
Yeah. And meanwhile, behind the two of them, Acathla has also woken up.
Mhm.
And so, the hell dimension portal is opening, and Buffy sees that that's happening, she kisses Angel. She's still got his sword in her hand,
Right.
and so she tells Angel to close his eyes. He does, and so then she stabs him. She kills him. She tosses him into hell.
Yeah, and it's deep tragedy, and it does fit the tragedy that I described earlier because this is fated.
Right.
Uh, this was intended, and, it's like this is the only path that the universe can be made right by whomever the powers that be are,
Right.
and it's, deeply tragic, and this episode really got to my 2nd child, and she was talking about how sad it was, and I just kept telling her something I read once when I was doing research on Buffy for an article I was publishing. Um, the fans are happier when Buffy's sad,
Yeah. Yeah.
and she didn't understand that, but I'm like, it's not that people want her to be sad, it's that the quality of storytelling is it gets
Yes.
it mines the depths of human emotion in a
Right.
very profound way. So, yeah, this is the sacrifice of leadership. This is a sacrifice of doing the right thing when everything in the world, everything you wanna do is the opposite.
Mhm.
Um, this is the tragedy of how the world sometimes works, where it just simply put, sometimes the world it just sucks. It
Mhm.
doesn't work in your favor, and she's had to do it. No one could do it for her. She had to do it.
That's exactly right.
So in asserting herself of saying, "What's left? Me?" Well, it really
Mhm.
is in this moment just her.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah.
she still has to act, and she acts virtuously. Um, so she is obviously, in the middle of mourning. I think everybody senses, if you can go with me on this, everyone senses that things are okay, and we don't even get this to the next day, but everything senses that the battle's over, Giles and Xander are safe, and Buffy's gone.
Mhm. Right.
And what we see there is kind of a montage, right? But, you know,
Yeah.
her mom goes to her bedroom, and it's clear that she's packed up, she's gone. You see her friends and Giles at school all gathering together and like, "Anywhere from Buffy?" And Willow, we have the Sarah McLachlan number coming on, so it's sad.
Yeah.
And, but she's like, "Well, I like to imagine she's just with Angel having some time with him," but
Yeah.
I think they all know something's not there's something inside of their expressions that lets them know that they're not settled. But that's where you have a bit of humorous break with Oz saying, "Hey, the world's dear, because look."
Check it out. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, right, and here it is. And they're all just hoping, Cordelia's like, "Yeah, I ran till I realized no one was following me," and they're all kinda giving their little scoop, but they don't know what to do now. It's
Yeah.
funny. She's the glue. They don't know what to do. And and Buffy's watching this, and my eldest daughter goes, "Like they can't see her watching," and I'm like, and then I tried to give her some of the history behind and there's some humor about how movies do this, like the person watching from the distance, a group of people, and that's a trope,
Yes.
and she's back to her overall bib overalls with the black undershirt that she wore earlier when she was mourning.
Mhm.
And she walks off, and we hear the music playing. She hops a bus, and you see the bus pull out, and it says, "Come back soon, Sunnydale." Right,
Yep.
and how we end the that's how we end it.
That's how we end it. So yeah, this has got to be in my guess is that it's in the top 3 episodes on Vox. I don't know
All
if you
right,
checked that out.
so Vox ranked part 1 number 14
Mhm.
and part 2 number 4
Number
of all
4. Okay.
144 episodes.
Okay.
Um, Let me just read a quote from it. It says,
Yeah, sure.
It's all firmly rooted in character, which is what makes it each moment lead to the next with such terrible inevitability. And yet it's still difficult to believe that it will happen, that Buffy isn't going to pull some brilliant idea out of her back pocket just in the nick of time, that she's going to kill her boyfriend. When it does happen, it's devastating.
Mhm.
Stone said it was part 2 is the 5th best episode of the whole thing. Um, Yeah. Let me see if there's any other little great hot takes. AV Club, Noel Murray of the AV Club in '08 wrote that the 2 episodes are a marvel weaving together all of the season's major threads into concluding chapters as assured and well realized as any in TV history.
Yep.
Hmm. This is one of the top episodes uh, for Sarah Michelle Gellar and Joss Whedon himself. So
Right. Right. Right.
I
Um,
I think
okay.
we really dug into a lot of the powerful themes and elements and stuff that this kind of points to. Is there any other visual elements or thematic elements that really stick out to you as something we haven't covered yet that worth bringing?
Um, you know, um, I don't think so. The 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 only thing that they had going on in this episode that I think was probably really challenging from a visual standpoint was the actual portal to hell. You know, this is when CGI was in its infancy, and they had to do something with it, and you know, it looks as cheesy as you would expect for a show of this ilk with this kind of budget. The only thing that I'll point out that I think was interesting from a storytelling perspective is um, when we compose images, what we want to do is we want to have the placement of shapes say something emotionally. So typically, whenever we're trying to communicate that things are in action, things are in motion, we try to set things up to where the most interesting part of the shot is the upper left third. And that's because we want for things to feel like they are sloping in a way that makes the eye feel like things are moving fast. You know, we read in our culture from left to right, and we know that things are faster when they're going downhill. So if we have interesting compositions moving from the upper left to the lower right, things are in motion. Um, if we have things that are in motion but are slowing down, we design our images so that they're in the upper left with the slope moving the other direction. You know,
Mm,
obviously, if we have things moving upward for some reason, that is communicating some amount of a slowdown. But when we're trying to say things are finished, when we're trying to say things are complete, when we're trying to say things are stable, we put our visual elements right in the middle.
mm,
And when Buffy stabs Angel, he and Acathla and the portal are all centered in the shot in order to communicate emotionally to the viewer that this is the end. Um, and as a result of that, they obscure some of the other elements of the shot. They obscure background elements. They obscure Buffy even,
mm.
but that's there to make the viewer feel this is it. And that's probably the most interesting thing I got for you in this episode in terms of visual
Yeah.
storytelling.
All right. Well, listen, we've gotten to the good stuff, and I have peeked into season 3 a little bit.
Sure.
Yes, we no longer have. We're done with the last time, or we're done with the Giles kind of
Opening montage
Slayer,
thing.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we're done with the old font. We got the new font. The music is cleaner,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
and then we don't have that, but it's also cleaner.
Sure.
And so I started the season 3 with the girls. Like, my girls are totally in now, man. And I've
Nice.
slowed them down. So yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it's
Cool.
been kind of fun. So I look forward to starting season 3 with you soon, my friend.
All right. Back at you.
All right. Listen, our friends, we are as we are filming these, the news comes out daily on this new reboot. So we're all getting excited. If this is something you like, share it with somebody,
Mhm.
and let's keep the conversations rolling.
Yeah, I do wanna say this quickly before we go, is, as we're recording, this, today is, May the 22nd. This probably won't come out for several weeks, but as we're recording, this is the day that we found out, earlier this week, that, the new Slayer is gonna be Ryan Kira Armstrong. So our new star of the show, and she is a 15-year-old actress.
Yeah, I saw some video footage of Sarah Michelle Gellar inviting her to save the world with her, which is really quite
Yes.
sweet. Yeah.
Very, very sweet, very sweet.
Yeah.
And I'll say this very quickly. I had no idea who this person was. I looked her up. She's been in 2 things that I thought were interesting. One was, the most recent version of Firestarter, the Stephen King novel
Mhm.
remake, and the second was Skeleton Crew, which is a Star
Star Wars.
Wars television show.
Yep.
Um, I actually sat down and watched, Firestarter after
Uh-huh.
this news broke. Have you seen it?
Nope.
Don't bother.
No? Okay. No.
Not the greatest version of the film at all, but she was the best part of it.
Has
So that gives me hope.
Skeleton Crew any good? Have you seen
I
it?
don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
I just watched Andor for the first time. I liked it.
Cool. Cool,
So,
cool. Yeah.
yeah.
I need to try both. I need to try both Andor and Skeleton Crew. I haven't gotten around to either one.
All right. Well, we look forward to hearing more.
Yeah, man.
All right, my friends. Play on.